One of the biggest enigmas and one of the most complex thing in nature and science in general is the human mind. One of the most highly debated thing for centuries has always been the human mind. From every walks of life, from every civilizations, from the Arabians to the Indians to the far Chinese philosophers, Latin American, whatever, has always been a state of debate. Everybody thinks differently about this. And that's what makes it interesting. So, what is the biggest thing that when we talk about that's in the human mind? And there's always what benefits the human mind. Obviously, try to understand the human mind. But here, I'm going to talk about what benefits the human mind. In physiology and medicine, there's something we call positive feedback or negative feedback. And that's one of the most basic things that we're taught about in the first year of medicine is positive feedback. Positive feedback is mostly talked about in hormones. Now, hormones are what makes us alive. So, for example, in positive feedback, we talk about hormones. Oh, that's obviously the simplest example I can give. In hormones, in estrogen, whenever estrogen increases, the follicle stimulating hormone increases. It causes a positive feedback. Now, there's negative feedback as well. Negative feedback, when we increase something, it'll be decreased or vice versa. So that's the most important thing. Now, we're asking, why am I talking about this? What does this have to do with the human mind? What the importance of this is, when we increase the positive, there will always be an increase of positive. It means if I increase something, something else will increase. Now, I think this type of feedback is in the human mind, and positive and negative feedback as well. Both of them are in the human mind. Now, I think one is good and one benefits us, and one is negative, and one can be negative and one can be positive. Now, it depends on what you think is right or wrong. It's up to you. Now, for example, positive feedback in the human mind, for example, a good example is good thoughts, being happy, being good. It'll be good on the human mind. You'll feel good. If you're happy, if you're ecstatic, if you're feeling euphoria, that's an also good positive feedback. And there's negative feedback. When you push negative thoughts, sadness, grief, guiltiness, shame, they're all bad thoughts, or we call bad thoughts. Some people find pleasure in these thoughts, but they can be good, they can be negative, they can be whatever, but they always have an increase in something else. Now, in science, we'll go back to medicine as well now. In the CVS, the cardiovascular system, whenever anger increases, tension increases, which basically means more heart function. Is that something good? No, it's not good. In the end, after years of anger, negative thoughts, you're gonna have what? A positive heart push. More heart damage will eventually be something bad because you increased cortisol and stress and you didn't feel good. So how do we shift this back to whatever I'm talking about right now, the human mind? The human mind has a lot of hurdles, and this is one of them. The negative, the negative, the bad thoughts, the thoughts that we don't want, the bad feelings we don't want. And what are these? A lot of them are grief and sadness. That's something that we all feel. Shame, feeling unworthy. Well, that's a hurdle. How do we fix that? I'm not here talking to you today as somebody like a God sent somebody who's gonna say, do this, do this, do this. It's not that easy. Because if it was easy, everybody would do this. I wouldn't be making a video like this if it was this easy. I'm here sharing to you today. I'm asking you, or I'm telling you, what are your hurdles? What makes you not jump it? And that's one of them. It's keeping a good mind. Now, obviously, day-to-day life, we always go through struggles. No matter what it is, we always have a circle of influence. Now, this is what I'm talking about today is from a book called Seven Habits of Influential People. I think that's the name, but you'll probably know this. And the first law he actually talks about, before he even starts talking about the seven habits, he talks about the circle of influence, what we have control of, what we don't control. Why do we feel sadness and grief? Why do we feel happy and ecstatic? Why do you feel euphoric? That's the thing I'm going to talk about. The circle of influence is something that we actually control, or what's something that actually influences us. Actually, circle of influence is from its name. What influences us? Now, it can be something we control and we can control, but that's the point we're talking about. What can we control? It's up to you. Now, I can't control the weather, can't control my car tire uh, being flat. I can't control my engine giving away. I can't give away a lot of stuff. I can't control that. But what can I control? I can control waking up at 7 a.m. I can control going to the gym. I can control this. I can stop this video and go back to daydreaming and saying I want to make a YouTube channel. But but I chose to control that. So what do we do about this? Now, I'm gonna go back to talking about the good thoughts because I gave you a contrast or a view about that, what we can control and can't control. We need to stick to that, keep that in mind. So, what are good thoughts? Good thoughts in what we think or what we call are something that's positive or something that makes us feel good. That's what a good thought is. No matter if it's bad or good, if it's moral or immoral, it's something that's a good thought. Well, obviously, I'm going to talk from a moral standpoint. I don't want to be an immoral person. I'm not going to say feeling arrogant or feeling or beating up somebody or, I don't know, taking advantage of somebody. You should do that because for some people, that's actually a good thought. What I'm talking about good thoughts are, or the ones that are moral, obviously. Um, and what are good thoughts? But like I said, they're what we feel or what we enjoy. And what are these? I'm going to say them. There's gratefulness and there's happiness and there's euphoria and there's love. That's our good thoughts. These are something that we enjoy. Everybody enjoys, from the baby to a teenager to an adult man and senile person. That's what we feel and what we think are good thoughts. So I want you to say, what are your good thoughts? What makes you feel good? You should always keep that in mind. You know them, you acknowledge them. But how do we maintain them? How do we maintain good feelings? How do I say I feel good every day? But that's the point. You're not going to feel good every day. What is that good thought that we can always feel every day? You're not going to be happy every day. You're not going to be in love every day. You're not always going to be excited every day. You're not going to be euphoric every day. So, what is the everyday good thought? And that's gratefulness. And that's gratefulness. You can be grateful for waking up. You can be grateful to say, "Oh, my car tire is flat. Thank God it isn't the engine popping." You know what I'm saying? For example, if I flunked a subject, I said I didn't pass anatomy, but I passed histology. That's a good thought. I'm grateful for that, and that's what keeps us pushing the good thought. So how do you maintain that? Is gratefulness. Now I want you to think. When was the last time something bad happened to you? I'm gonna say what happened. Something bad happened to me yesterday. The Centennial Bell. I think it's called Century Bell. In Libya, we call it Shinga. We call it Shinga. What keeps the car going? It broke when I was halfway driving. It ripped. So I parked my car and I waited a year, an hour for my car to be lifted and sent to the garage. Now I could have been pissed off, but I was grateful. Why? Because a month ago, uh, that same stuff happened to my father. But it was a bigger problem than me. I didn't have a big problem. I just need to change the belt. He needed to change something else. It was a bigger problem. I was grateful. See? So that's how we should push. But I'm not talking to you here like an angel or somebody sent by God. I've always been ungrateful for a lot of stuff. But that's how we maintain this. That's how we try to fix ourselves every day because not everybody is perfect. So what I'm trying to point here is how do we live with this? Like I said, think of every misfortunate event that happened to you and think how you reacted. And what was the best reaction of these misfortunate events? Because I know I had a lot of misfortunate events happen to me, but but I reacted differently to every single one. Now, I want you to think, how did I react? And what was the best reaction for every misfortunate event? List them and think to yourself, when did I react best? And you're gonna find when you were grateful. You're gonna realize when you said, "It is what it is," and that's the most important thing. Is that point? That's what you're meant to be feeling. Is it is what it is? Gratefulness. And that's the highest thought that you can maintain. It's scientifically proven as well that the highest mental feeling that we feel, the highest thing, is happiness. But you can't maintain happiness every day. What is the highest feeling, good feeling that you can maintain is gratefulness. What is the lowest feeling that the human body feels or the human mind feels? Is guiltiness and shame. You feel shameful. You feel failure. That's something bad. I remember, I think in my journal, I think, let me open this. Into 2023, obviously I was going through a phase, like most of us go through. And let me read this. Let me read this. Let me find this. It's going to take a few seconds. In 2023, and I think in June 2022, I think that was day seven of me starting my journal, was I am a failure. That's the lowest human thought I was feeling. And I wrote it down. It wasn't good at the moment. I wasn't feeling, but that's just me proving to you that I was like you, or I might feel that. I was feeling that a month ago. I felt failure or being failed or not being enough a few months ago. So we're always in a phase. So, like I said, the maintenance is grateful. So back then, I think if I was grateful for what I had, was I felt grateful. How did I move from that? Was feeling grateful. I said, thank God I have this, and this. You fix yourself from that. You lift yourself up from that. And that's how we maintain this. So, like I said, how do we fix this? Is I want you to look back at every misfortunate event and think to yourself, how did I react? And list what you thought was the best reaction. And I want you to keep feeling that. I want you to keep trying. You're not always going to be the best at it. You might fail. You might react bad. But that's it. That's the whole gem. That's the whole what. That's what glows. That's what it is. Is that point? It's basically feeling good. That's the whole point of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I struggle with, and that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe. I'm gonna make making more videos, and I'll make even more videos about this type of stuff. I'll be sharing my ideas and new stuff that I learn every single day. I'll try to make new videos. I'll try to be consistent. Consistency is key. I'll be making a video about that soon as well, because I struggle with that a lot. A lot of people talk to me like they think I'm consistent, but that's another video. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. Assalamu alaikum.